Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. St. John. I wanted to take a moment to remind you what we learned about yesterday in math. Yesterday, we began to solve division problems like this. Division problems that have a 2-digit divisor. So, I wanted to go through solving this problem here to remind you of all the steps that we learned to follow yesterday. The first step whenever we're solving a division problem is to write down our division steps over to the side. Dad, mom, sister, brother, Rover. Our next step is to set up our problem. Here, 273 divided by 30 is the problem that we're going to solve. The number that comes first in a division sentence or division expression is called our dividend, and that goes inside the division house or the den. The next number in the division expression is called our divisor, and our divisor goes outside of the house. All right, our next step is to skip count by our divisor. Yesterday we talked about the strategy of covering up the 0 because this is a multiple of 10, it's 30, and skip counting just by the 3's first. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Now we can change that skip counting to represent skip counting by 30 by multiplying each of those numbers by 10 or shifting them one place value bigger on the place value chart, which also means we can just draw 0 on the end here. 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, 210, 240, 270, and 300. The next step is to look at our divisor, 30, and think to ourselves, 30 times what gets me close to 2? Because 30 is greater than 2, it's bigger than 2, we're going to say that goes in 0 times. Now we're going to grab the 2 and the 7 and say 30 times what gets us close to 27 without going over. 30 is still bigger than 27, so we want to put a placeholder 0 above the 7 as well. Next, we're going to grab all 3 digits and say, okay, 30 times what gets us close to 273 without going over? I look back at my skip counting and I'm looking for something that's close to 273 without going over. I noticed that 273 would actually be really close to 270. It's just a little more than 270. 300 is way too many. It's way over 273. So we're going to go with 270. And I'm going to think to myself, well, what is that? 30 times what? This is 30 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 30 times 9 equals 270. So keeping that in mind, I return back to our problem. We're saying 30 times what gets us close to 273 without going over? And we said 30 times 9. Next, we're going to multiply. We divided, so our next step is to multiply. 9 times 30 equals, well, we said that was 270. We're done multiplying, so our next step is to subtract. We're going to subtract 273 minus 270. Remember, when we subtract, we always start in the smallest place value. 3 minus 0 is 3. 7 minus 7 is nothing, 0, right? 2 minus 2 is nothing. So when we subtract 273 minus 270, we get an answer of 3. Now, we know that if we're doing remainder division, we always want to look to see, is there anything left to bring down over here? Because there's no more digits to bring down, we're going to check our answer to that subtraction problem and compare it to our divisor. And we're going to ask ourselves, is that less than our divisor? 3 is less than 30, so we can call it our remainder now. Our answer here is 9 remainder 3. But before we move on, we always want to check our division using multiplication. When it's a division problem that has a remainder, we want to take the answer away from the remainder, just that 9, and we want to multiply it by our divisor, 30. 9 times 30, or 30 times 9. 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 3 is 27. But we're not done with the check yet. We have to remember to add our remainder onto that answer. I'm going to start a new math problem to the right and say 270 plus 3. And I know the answer to that is 273. We'll know if we got the right answer to our division problem if our answer to the check matches up with our dividend, or what's in the division house. They match 273. So we can say that 9 remainder 3 is our final answer.